The basics of alternating current, a basic knowledge of trigonometry is required for the study of alternating current. Right triangles. A right triangle is a triangle that contains a right, or 90 degrees, angle. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and ID always opposite to the right angle. Several thousand years ago, a Greek mathematician named Pythagoras made some interesting discoveries concerning triangles that contain right angles. One of these discoveries was that if the two sides of a right triangle are squared, their sum will equal the square of the hypotenuse. For example, assume a right triangle has one side 3 feet long and the other side is 4 feet long. If the side that is 3 feet is squared, it will produce an area of 9 square feet. If the side that is 4 feet is squared, it will produce an area of 16 square feet. The sum of the areas of these two sides equals the square area formed by the hypotenuse. In this instance, the hypotenuse will have an area of 25 square feet. Now that the area, or square, of the hypotenuse is known, its length can be determined by finding the square root of its area. The length of the hypotenuse will be 5 feet. Because the square root of 25 is 5, the Pythagorean Theorem. From this knowledge concerning the relationship of the length of the sides to the length of the hypotenuse, Pythagoras derived a formula known as the Pythagorean Theorem. C2 equals A to plus B to where colon C. The length of the hypotenuse, the length of one side. B, the length of the other side. If the lengths of the two sides are known, the length of the hypotenuse can be found using the following formula: C equals A2 plus B2. It is also possible to determine the length of one of the sides if the length of the other side and the length of the hypotenuse are known, since the sum of the squares of the two sides equals the square of the hypotenuse. The square of one side will equal the difference between the square of the hypotenuse and the square of the other side. Sines, cosines, and tangents. A second important concept concerning right triangles is the relationship of the length of the sides of the angles. Since one angle is always 90, only the two angles that are not right angles are of concern. Another important fact concerning triangles is that the sum of the angles of any triangle equals 180. Since one angle of a right triangle is 90, the sum of the two other angles must equal 90. It was discovered long ago that the number of degrees in each of these two angles is proportional to the lengths of the three sides. The relationship is expressed as the sine, cosine, and tangent of a particular angle. The function used is determined by which sides are known and which of the two angles is to be found when using sines, cosines, and tangents. The sides are designated the hypotenuse, the opposite, and the adjacent. The hypotenuse is always the longest side of a right triangle, but the opposite and the adjacent sides are determined by which of the two angles is to be found. Sine function is equal to the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Sine equals opposite, hypotenuse. The cosine function is equal to the adjacent side by the hypotenuse. So sine equals adjacent hypotenuse. The tangent function is equal to the opposite side divided by the adjacent side and equals opposite adjacent. Tomorrow we are going to talk about alternating current and amplitude, average, cycle, frequency, hertz, in phase, linear wave, oscillators, peak, resistive loads, ripple, RMS, sine wave, sking effect, triangle wave, true power, and watts. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe.